Paris, 1992. A big fashion show was happening. Most models looked the same. Pretty, perfect, expected. Then, one woman walked out. She had bleached eyebrows, a sharp jaw, and white hair. The crowd didn't cheer. They stared. This woman didn't look like anyone else. Her name was Kristen McMenamy, and she wasn't trying to fit in. She was there to stand out. In a world that wanted perfect beauty, Kristen brought something new. She looked strange, but also strong. People couldn't stop talking about her. Soon she became one of the most famous models in the world. But then, she made a big choice. At the top of her career, she left. No goodbye, no big reason, just gone. Why did she stop when she had everything? What was she really looking for? This is the story of style, strength, and a woman who changed fashion forever, then walked away. Kristen McMenamy was born in 1964 in Pennsylvania. From a young age, she didn't look like most girls in magazines. She was tall, very thin, and people often called her strange-looking. Even in the modeling world, she didn't fit. But she still had a big dream: to become a model. In 1985, she moved to New York City. She went to modeling agencies, but got rejected again and again. They said she was too different, too odd, not the right look. Most people would have given up, but Kristen didn't. She believed that being unusual was her strength. She wouldn't try to look like anyone else. She said, "If I make it, it will be as me." And slowly, she started to get work. First small jobs, then big ones. In just a few years, she would be walking the biggest runways in the world. How did this so-called strange girl become the face of high fashion? What changed? Or did the world simply catch up to her? By the late 1980s, fashion was ready for a change, and Kristen McMenamy gave it to them. She shaved her eyebrows, she dyed her hair strange colors, she wore dark, messy makeup and strange outfits. She looked nothing like the classic beauty. But that was the point. In a world of perfect models, Kristen looked like an alien, and top designers loved her for it. By 1991, she was working with Chanel, Givenchy, and Versace. Her photos were not just pretty, they were art. People couldn't stop looking at her. She didn't just wear clothes, she challenged what beauty meant. She didn't smile or pose the usual way. She made people uncomfortable, and that made her stand out. The media called her an anti-model, and fashion couldn't get enough of her. What made the world fall in love with someone so different? Was Kristen leading fashion, or was she simply being herself in a world ready for something new? From 1992 to 1995, Kristen took her bold style even further. She worked with designer Alexander McQueen and photographer Steven Meisel. Together, they created images that felt like art, and sometimes like protests. In one photo, Kristen was covered in oil. On one runway, she crawled like a sea creature. In another, she appeared bald, wild, and crying. These weren't just fashion shows, they were statements. Kristen used modeling to question beauty. She spoke out against ageism, sexism, and fake ideas of perfection. She wasn't trying to be pretty, she was trying to be honest. But being so bold came with a price. Many people didn't understand her. Some in the industry saw her as too much. She was always pushing boundaries, but that also made her feel alone. How long can someone fight the system before it starts to take something personal from them? Was Kristen's power also becoming her burden? From 1998 to 2004, Kristen did something no one expected. She disappeared. There was no press release, no goodbye. At the top of her career, she simply walked away. Instead of fashion, she focused on her family. She spent those years raising her children, especially her daughter Lily. Kristen said no to shows, magazines, and big offers. For a while, it seemed like she was done. The fashion world moved on. But people never forgot her. Some thought she was tired. Others said she couldn't keep up anymore. But maybe Kristen just needed space. After years of fighting fashion's rules, she wanted time to just be herself. Behind the scenes, her name still had power. Designers remembered her. Photographers missed her. And when she finally came back, she didn't return quietly. She came back stronger, older, and more honest than ever. So what made Kristen's return feel like a whole new statement? And why did her reappearance hit fashion even harder than the first time? Think Kristen was gone for good? Think again. Click like and subscribe, because what happens next? No one in fashion saw it coming. In 2011, Kristen McMenamy walked the runway again. She was over 50 years old. Her hair was silver, her face natural, her presence unshaken. No surgery, no filters, just real beauty and full of story. She walked for Valentino. She returned to Vogue. She led big campaigns again. But this wasn't just a return, it was a revolution. Fashion had changed, and Kristen had seen it coming long before anyone else. Now, she stood for something bigger: age inclusion, truth, power without pretending. She showed the world that women over 50 didn't need to fade away. They could lead, they could be art, they could be seen. But as Kristen stepped back into the light, how did she really feel about fame, aging, and her body? And did the industry love her return, or just her legend? In this time, Kristen started to speak openly. She talked about grief, getting older, and how her body had changed. She spoke about the loss of her son, and how that pain never really goes away. She said she was sometimes angry at the world, but still full of fight. Instead of hiding, she made art. She posed in raw photos, with no makeup and no filters. She wrote, she created, she shared herself exactly as she was. "I want to be seen," she said, truly seen. Fashion had always called her strange. Now, it was starting to call her brave. You couldn't ignore her anymore, not because of her looks, but because of her truth. She wasn't trying to be perfect. She was trying to be real. But what happened next made the world see Kristen in a way it never had before. Not just as a model, but as a legend. In 2022, Kristen walked the Valentino show in Paris. She wore a bright pink gown, no makeup, no eyebrows, just her true self. The photos went viral. Young people who had never seen her before were suddenly amazed. "Who is this woman?" they asked. And fashion answered, "This is Kristen McMenamy, the woman who broke the rules." She started working with new designers. She appeared in sustainable fashion campaigns. She became a voice for staying true to yourself at any age. Kristen was no longer just a model. She was a symbol of freedom, of honesty, of not fitting in and still winning. She didn't come back to be famous, she came back to be real. But what is the real reason Kristen has lasted, changed, and still inspires? The answer is deeper than fashion. What makes Kristen McMenamy stand out? She didn't chase beauty, she challenged it. She didn't hide from age, she made it her power. And her strength came from being fully herself, raw, honest, bold. She proved fashion isn't about looking perfect, it's about being real. Her story isn't just about modeling, it's about freedom, about not fitting in and still becoming a legend. That's the legacy Kristen built, and it still speaks louder than words. Kristen McMenamy wasn't shaped by fashion, she reshaped it. From too strange to a global icon, her story shows what happens when you stay true to yourself. If you've ever felt like you didn't fit in, maybe you were meant to stand out. What part hit you hardest? Like, subscribe and stay tuned.